all just cutting.
The difference, yeah, all in there.
I'm still doing, I'd like to figure it out. I did turn it to your office.
Hey there. Hey, Brandon. No, original. Where are you? Somewhere
And I will make sure where's Miss Deborah? There she is.
We were all running down. I saw the farm across the street. It should change that.
Take a couple of us away.
Like 5 or 6.
It's fine, I just, we have issues with one people. You can park anywhere you want, my friend, okay?
Went and had lunch Wednesday with the retirees.
Time you enjoy
I know, it seemed like I always have something to do with it. I did. Said bye,
Good evening, we're going to call our meeting to order. By the clerk, we do our council meeting this evening. I would ask, please, if you have cell phones, please turn them off at this time. We will stand and have pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Wagonhouse and prayer by Councilmember Reed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would like to pray with us, would you please remain standing? Dear God of us all, we thank you for this day, a day that you have made, a day that we shall all rejoice and be glad in. Thankful that you have allowed us to come to the public safety building once and again to make decisions on our citizens of Madison. Give us wisdom, knowledge, courage, insight. Allow us to make decisions based on our citizens and not ourselves. Give us exactly what we need for this meeting. Amen.
Amen. A special presentation tonight, and tonight we're honored this evening to welcome Ms. Ashley Trotman Webb of the Georgia Government Finance Association. Ms. Webb is here to present to our Finance Director, Ms. Karen Staff, the National Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the GFOA for her work in transforming our annual budget to a national model. Ms. Webb and Ms. Staff, please come up to the podium for this presentation.
Good evening, Council. My name is Ashlyn Webb, and like the Mayor said, I'm here on behalf of the Georgia Government Finance Officers Association. I serve on the board as the treasurer. We are the local chapter of the National Government Finance Officers Association, which was founded in 1906 and represents public finance officials throughout the United States and Canada. This association has more than 20,000 members across federal, state, local governments, school districts, authorities, just about any government entity that you can think of. And it's GFOA's mission to advance excellence in public finance. One of the ways that we do this is through several award programs, and that's why I'm here tonight. The Budget Awards Program was established in the 80s to encourage and assist governments to prepare their budget documents of the very highest quality that reflect both the guidelines established by the National Advisory Council on state and local budgeting, as well as GFOA's best practices, and then to recognize those governments that succeed in achieving that goal. Only about 1,800 governments, including states, counties, cities, special districts, and school districts, have been recognized for transparency in budgeting. To earn this recognition, budget documents must meet program criteria and excel as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communication tool. Earning this award is no small feat. In addition to the hours put into your normal budget process, your finance director has gone above and beyond to add to that basic budget document to meet those criteria. And if you haven't seen it, you really should check it out. I've looked at it on your website, and y'all did a really great job. I've done it for my city of Covington, and it is tough. So if the mayor would come down, and John, if you want to come down too, I would like to present the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award to the city of Madison.
Come around this way. I asked our council to stand, so maybe you can.
To your right, Ed. There you go. Get a couple flash. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Congratulations. This time, our chief of police, Mr. Bill Ashford, to recognize Travis Stubbs for motion. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Mr. Clem, appreciate the opportunity to come up, and I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize one of our fine police officers of the city of Madison, Officer Travis Stubbs. He came to us from the Newton County Sheriff's Department, where he served for about 3 years with the Sheriff's Department, so he was a certified police officer when Travis came and joined our department, and he joined our department in October of 2016. And since that time, he's received either meets or exceeds expectations on all his performance evaluations. He has 8 commendations in his personnel file. And since joining our department, he's gone and gotten certified as a field training officer, so he's responsible for training our new officers when we see them. He's also a certified post instructor, which allows him an opportunity to teach a lot of the classes that we have to have for our training hours here in our department. Travis Stubbs completed our promotion process this year, which included a written exam, an oral interview, an inspection of his personnel file, and then just his work and duties and responsibilities on how he's performed over the past several years. And tonight, it's an honor for me to recognize Travis Stubbs as receiving a promotion to corporal in our department. He's now a shift supervisor, which he's been doing that job for us since December of 22. So he's already got a little experience in that, and he's done us a great job, and we're blessed to have him on our department. And I'd just like to recognize his promotion tonight, Corporal Travis Stubbs.
Arbor Day Proclamation, Junior Conservative, Cameron Palmer. I'm going to read the proclamation to you.
Good evening. I'm Mary Ann Dartnell, and I am part of the Junior Conservancy under the Madison Morgan Conservancy. And every year, one of our members reads the proclamation for Arbor Day. This evening, Cameron Palmer was not able to be here. She's on the agenda. And so luckily, we have Wynn Howard who will be reading it. And the great thing about Wynn is that he was a member of the Junior Conservancy when he was in high school. And last year, he completed a degree in forestry at UGA and is now working for the Conservancy. So he's come full circle, and we're really happy to have him here today.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our cities increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas Madison has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of the City of Madison, do hereby proclaim February 16th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Madison, and we urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our city's urban forestry program. And further, we urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of future generations.
I'm Jill Reilly. I am the new planner one for the Green Space Conservation. And on behalf of the City of Madison, we'd like to thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
We have the Conservancy folks stand up like the officer said. You can even hold.
Come on, Christine.
No? All right, so if you'll get up close to them, they won't bite you, I don't think.
Tastes like a tree.
Guys forward. Catcher.
Yep, thank you.
Jill's
going to make the announcement.
Welcome back. Hello again. So I am introducing the Lambert Legacy. Miss Christine Lambert has donated $148,000. Her friends contributing another $2,000 in her honor to benefit the City of Madison through the Lambert Legacy Program. Part of this program's funding is set aside for a beautification project with $50,000 reserved for trees alone. We have Ms. Lambert to thank for funding our 2024 Arbor Day celebration and our new Trees for Tots program. This February 17th, we are distributing 130 saplings along with tree bags to Morgan County residents and encouraging families with young children to help us document the growth of Madison and Morgan County by sending in Trees for Tots pictures annually of their young ones growing up next to their saplings. Thank you, Ms. Lambert, for this enduring legacy to benefit the community's future forest. Thank you.
joint session of December the 1st, 2023. Our call meeting of December the 1st of 2023, regular meeting of January the 8th, 2024, and special call meeting of January the 12th, 2024. May I get a motion and second to approve those minutes, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Our public hearing tonight, the developers would like to postpone this public hearing until a later date. We understand that some things was not quite ready to be talked about. So this public hearing will be postponed until a later date, and I would like to get a motion and a second from our council to postpone this public hearing until a later date. Mr. Red Mayor is here tonight, and he's in agreement with this, and we thank them so much for working with our city. Can we get a motion and a second?
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Over here. The legal requirement is we have to table it to a date certain. So it's got to be to the March meeting, which I believe is March 11th. Does that sound right?
All right with you, Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Can we get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Are there no discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed is none. The vote is unanimously, and this will be postponed until our March meeting. Yes, sir.
Yes, hey, I want to have something said of the city council meeting.
What did he say?
Hey, I need to come up so you can give me one help.
I mean, if you got comments tonight, we'll make those comments at the end of our meeting.
Thank you.
Legal matters, statewide mutual aid agreement, Morgan County Emergency Management, Amanda Proctor. Ms. Proctor.
Hi, my name is Amanda Proctor. I am the Emergency Management and 911 Director for Morgan County. And what you have before you is the statewide mutual aid agreement provided by GEMA. And it's an agreement between the municipality and GEMA that in the event of a disaster, we need mutual aid assistance, that it will be provided for you. It's the exact same agreement that was signed back in 2020. It's renewed every 4 years, and it will be expiring on March 1st.
I'd like to ask Mayor, is this the same agreement that was approved by the county commission at their last meeting?
Yes. Each municipality within the confines of Morgan County has its own agreement with GEMA.
If we get a motion and a second from our council members?
Mayor, I would move to accept the statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement as presented.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed is none, vote unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The quick claim deed and signing this.
Good evening. The Georgia Department of Transportation is expanding, what road is it?
441 North.
441 North. The city has a city limit sign there that they are unfortunately taking and will be knocking down soon. As part of that, they have to compensate the city to replace that sign. And I think there was some confusion on who they were talking to as the county at first, and then they realized they needed to talk to the city. And so with Karen's doing, they're going to pay the city $23,500, which is the price of the new sign that the city got an estimate for. And so all we need to do is the motion to approve the quick claim of the sign and the acceptance of the $23,500. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Can we get a motion and a second?
One quick question. So this was not originally on GDOT right of way. Did they expand the right of way for the expansion, and that's why it's now in their right of way?
Correct. Yes. So they are taking the right of way, and so as part of that, they're allowing the city to move their sign farther out into the new right of way.
When I first heard of this, it sounded like we might have approached, and that's not the case.
No, they are currently expanding it, and our sign is in the new right of way.
And we're hopeful that the $25,000 will cover putting up the new
I
sign.
believe Karen's already gotten an estimate
Yes.
for it, and so that's what that number is based on.
Thank you.
Make a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimously. Gas utility easement.
Yes. In your packet, there are 3 easements related to gas lines. These are being run out to the Safari property. My understanding is these easements have been signed by the property owners, and all you all are doing are accepting these easements. So it'd be a motion to accept these easements.
Any questions? Attorney, if not, we can have a motion and a second to approve the gas utility easement.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
There any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimously. Surplus equipment, Aaron?
So a few years ago, the fire department was able to purchase all new oxygen tanks and bottles. We financed that through the GMA lease financing program. And so now they have, this is a list of all the older equipment that is being stored out at the municipal building, all fairgrounds, and is taking up some room, and that they would like to be able to sell these on gov deals now. And so this is just a list of the oxygen tanks, the bottles, and the face masks that go with them.
Just out of, just out of idle curiosity, who buys used breathing apparatus?
Smaller volunteer fire departments, if they get it, and I'm sure there's other types of professions out there that need it.
Making a motion and a second to approve this surplus equipment.
So moved.
Any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimously. Got the governmental agreement. John?
Mr. Mayor, there is a requirement by the state for the 6-year agreement for SPLOST that there be an intergovernmental agreement between the various municipalities in Morgan County and our county government. I want to publicly recognize and thank our county administrator, Adam Estes, and commission member Ben Ryden, who held the necessary hearing. We have a ballot question that's coming up on March 12th, and I know that this council never takes lightly requests for revenues or taxes. But this program is vital in the sense that it provides the tools necessary for our government to function and provide services to our citizens. The highlights of the package that you've already approved would include a badly needed fire station. This would provide funding for the fire station. We were delighted to have the incredible generosity of Mr. Pat Reeves, who gave us the city land so that we could build our fire station on. But there's obviously funding required for that to be accomplished. There's been concern raised by our citizens that we are not maintaining properly the various parks in this city. And so we want to make sure that the parks have restroom facilities and safe equipment for all of our youngsters, and that this funding package would allow for that. We have a variety of needs in terms of vehicles, equipment, a fire truck, a garbage truck, so that we can maintain the programs that we presently have. Every year we put a modest amount forward for green space acquisition, and our police department and fire department have equipment needs that would be satisfied by this SPLOST program. So we certainly hope that the citizens will give this every consideration on March 12th. And as I said, it's a state requirement that there be in place a mutual agreement, which is very similar to the present SPLOST program, and that document is attached to your agenda.
And March 12th is the presidential primary day, I believe, for voting.
That's correct.
You need to vote on this, John.
Yes.
And there would be, I would move to accept the project list for SPOS funding for 2025.
Second.
Available discussion? All in favor, show of hands. All those not vote unanimously. Amendment to city charter resolution to propose changes in city charter to the General Assembly.
Put on your desk before the meeting a draft of the actual language that we spoke about, the charter amendment at the work session. The main change is if you flip to page 2, there's a last sentence right before you get to number 2 that says, or last sentence, mayor may only vote in case of an aye. That is the only thing that I've added to that paragraph. Everything else is remains the same. That's kind of what I heard at the work session, and I know there was a lot of back and forth on what we were doing. It was raised to me before that I think some council members heard differently, and maybe there's some clarification that we were going to just do a flat, leave it the same and just do a rotating 2-year basis sort of informally, which I know was discussed, and maybe I just misheard how the consensus ended up on that. But so I guess probably need a little bit more discussion on what the council wants to do. The second paragraph there is just cleaning up the language where you all had a specific salary in the charter. And so I just took the specific number and said shall receive a salary that shall be set by ordinance in accordance with state law, because that is a state law, how you have to do that. So it's just taking out whatever specific salary was in there.
Are there any questions for Attorney?
Yeah, if I may, thank you, first of all, Jay, for that. So this looks great. I like all of this. Of course, the question was raised, we did discuss handling the mayor pro tem position on a rotating basis. And now that I'm thinking about it, it seems to me I remember that we thought that we might agree to that as a council on more of an informal basis as opposed to, let's say, legislating it. And I'm just wondering if my council colleagues would welcome that as a suggestion. We would just agree to do a rotating, the pro tem on a rotating basis without, because the problem is, and I guess this may have come up before, and remind me if I'm wrong, we might have talked about how we may be tying the hands of future city council members if that's not something that they want to do, and then we'd have to go back and change that. I mean, I am personally quite happy to agree to the rotation and to stick with it. And if the rest of us were currently, then I think, would that be satisfactory?
I think that's what we discussed, and I agree with you. I think I don't really feel comfortable tying the hands of council 20 years from now, who may not have the same way of looking at it as we do. I think the majority of us kind of like at this point the rotational basis, but at the same time, a future council may think, well, let's just give it to the least senior person or the most senior person. And I wouldn't want to, from this perspective, tie them into a charter change that would force that on them. But I agree, I think the rotation now is, I think, the consensus of most of us on this council. Is that right?
Mr. Mayor, I kind of agree with both of them. I understand that. I think this is something we should put on our next work session so we can sit down and just talk about it. I think it's a great idea. But can we just, we need to address this, and we need to do it. We talked about it during our work session, maybe one more time, and then since that's not something that has to be approved, it's just a council decision. Is that not correct?
You can do whatever you want informally. The only language I added, the question for the charter change is whether the mayor keeps his vote for mayor pro tem, which is how it is now, or it is taken away, which is consistent with all other votings in the city. If you take away his vote, that has to be approved by the General Assembly. So we have to send it, this would just be approving it here, we'd send it off to the General Assembly and they would do that. If it's staying the same, there's no reason, you need to send it off to the General Assembly.
Okay, so I'm just trying to remember.
Mr. Mayor, I definitely don't think that we need another work session. I think we've talked about it a long time. I think we keep kicking the can down the road because we don't want to make a decision. I think we should make a decision, and I think it should rotate every 2 years. It's not tying the hands. That's the decision that we make as a council right now. If another council comes on, there's different people, then they have the right to make a decision as well. I don't understand why we're kicking the can down the road. Every 2 years should be okay. Can someone tell me what's the issue with Mayor Pro Tem rotating from one council member to another?
Mr. Mayor, I totally agree with you, Carrie. The only reason I made that comment was hoping that everybody else would make additional comments right here today. We don't need to kick it down the table, down the road.
No. I think we should make a decision right here, right now, on what we're going to do, which way we're going to do it, and be done with it, because we keep saying what we're going to do. Every chance we get, we kick it down the road. There's no need to just make a decision and just move on from this. I feel as though we should rotate the Mayor Pro Tem every 2 years. It doesn't have anything to do with seniority. We put a motion on the floor, and whoever's for this should receive it for those 2 years. And we should move forward. If the mayor doesn't vote on anything else, why is he voting on Mayor Pro Tem? Can someone answer that?
I don't think we have an answer, actually. But I do agree, I would go forward with the change as you have written it, with the change for the mayor voting and with the salary, the unspecified salary, just that we were receiving one. So I'm fine to vote on accepting that, the change in that way, the resolution.
As we've had, as Carrie said, we've had plenty of discussions on this. At least 2, probably 3 good discussions that we discussed, and I think that's the way to go. One quick question. I know the mayor and I did have a conversation with Representative Fleming and Senator Strickland. They're both aware, they both knew this was coming up, but in terms of the process, once we approve this, which appears will be soon, then that goes to them, and does Representative Fleming expect this to be passed at this current session of the legislature?
So it's not a state requirement to have a formal resolution. Those 2 asked one for the city. I think they've gotten bad information and done something through the General Assembly and then found out later the city or county didn't want that. So they've asked for a formal resolution. The process is, if approved, we have to advertise it for them. You got to advertise in the local paper that a charter change is going before the General Assembly. They have to wait 7 days, and then they can introduce it and approve it. The only 2 members that really have to approve it are the 2 sponsoring ones, which are the ones I've never seen a local legislation shot down. It's usually unanimous.
So it doesn't come to a vote on the floor or anything?
It does. It's everyone votes yes if the 2 people, because it doesn't affect anybody but those 2 people. So yes, it will get done this session.
Mr. Mayor, I am in favor of the doing it on a rotating basis, and I may have even been the one that offered that 2 years ago when this got brought up and there was a high vote. Having said that, so I'm not sure why it would need to go to the state to remove the mayor from voting if there's not a vote to be had. But I'm not the mayor, I don't aspire to be the mayor, but I wasn't here when the ordinance was written, Gary, but the mayor does vote in the case of a tie generally in appointing the new city manager and in appointing the mayor pro tem. Now, we may change that. Now, again, I'm fine with that, but I'm just saying I think there was probably some wisdom in why the mayor would vote for whomever he or she would like to serve as their mayor pro tem, if that were the case. But I don't know if we would just strike it or if it would need to go to the state if we're going to go on a rotating basis, because there would be no vote. But But if it's something that maybe Jay knows better from a legal standpoint, it's just cleaner to have it there for whatever happens in the future, then obviously that's fine.
Jay?
Yes. There's no legal significance one way or the other. I do find it odd that it creates a tie, but I understand the wisdom of the mayor pro tem having a vote in the person that is going to be sitting in for him or her in the future meetings. So there probably is some wisdom in that. If you all are wanting to do an informal rotating basis, which I think I'm getting a little confused on rotating, maybe you don't need a change. If you just want to clean up that there's never going to be a tie, and if there is, the mayor can vote, then go for it. But if you're going to do it in informal rotating basis, either that's totally informal in between each council, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I know the county has a rotating basis on who is the chairman. And I'm in favor of the rotation. I just don't want to be mayor pro tem. Okay, so can I go on record for that?
I think you can be more than welcome to deny the role.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have you sign this over here.
You don't have to worry about it, buddy.
Fine.
I think my only, I agree with Rick's point that it would make sense the mayor had some involvement in the decision who would be his number two on the council. The problem for me is that it's the only time that the mayor is allowed to vote that could potentially and in reality create a tie with no mechanism to break the tie. It's what I look at as a flaw in the charter. I mean, how do you create a tie and then what do you do then?
This happened the last time, I think the attorney stepped in and made that decision for the council.
An opinion that.
That's right.
Maybe it was right, maybe it wasn't.
But it still causes an issue.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of an issue that I think could be, Jay's gone to the trouble of crafting this. It still has to go to the legislature anyway because you would have the change in the salary.
Right.
So it's still heading forward.
That one would not actually have to go to the general.
Oh, I see. Oh, I got you. Okay.
It's only because you're changing someone's voting process that has to get signed off by them.
Well, I would, if there's no further discussion, Mayor, if you don't mind, I have a motion if everyone is finished.
So my concern would be, I think the question was raised that the mayor don't vote on anything else. Why should he vote on the mayor pro tem? But we all know that when there is a tie, the mayor has to break the tie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it has been.
You still have that power, how it's written now.
Right, right. So I think the mayor should have an opportunity to vote on the mayor pro tem.
In the time?
And it ties 3-3, who's to break that tie? And how is it that the city attorney is supposed to break the tie?
But this is
The city attorney brings it up, I promise you that.
So if it ties 3-3, who's to break that tie and how is that to work?
I think the opinion given by Mr. Carter, who I tend to agree with, is that you're in a status quo until another vote is taken. So I think that is why it stands. You all could keep the mayor with his vote and come up with some tie-breaking mechanism. Maybe the mayor just gets to break it again or whatever, but you're not hamstrung to just whatever on a piece of paper, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just think the simplest thing to do is establish a rotating that's set up. We don't require a vote. It's automatic. There's no politics involved in it. I do like the county's way of doing that. And I think that sets it up. There's just no, we know how it's going to go. And my name's not going to be on the list.
Okay, we've already agreed on that, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've agreed on that. We're all fine with rotating, absolutely, and we're agreeing.
I know you are.
Rotate.
Thank you.
So what's to be called to question is, do we go with this charter and have that change made, or do we drop it? That's it. I mean, we should make a motion one way or the other, I think, shouldn't we? I mean, or do we just say, okay, forget about it? I don't know.
We should make a change on the charter that rotates every 2 years, so it's in place.
So you want to formalize it rotating through the council for 2 years in the charter? Okay. So,
Well, we just, but if you remember, we just, a minute ago, well, not to say that you agreed to that, Carrie, but we did mention, you don't like the idea of us just informally doing it as to not tie the hands of future council.
So the informal part is that we'll be right back here again like we've been for the last 3 times that we brought this up. No one will just go ahead and make a decision. We need to make a decision and be done with it. Informally, we'll say one thing and do another one. So it's time for us to just stick to what we say and have it in writing. If we don't have things in writing, then it doesn't matter.
Well, I think this amendment proposal meets my needs for making the change. I'm ready to make a motion to approve this and have it moved on to the assembly without codifying the 2-hour rotation. We all agree with that. We know that's how it's going to go, but I don't want to really force that upon a council that would have different people and maybe feel differently in the future. So certainly we're here for at least 2 years, the 5 of us right here. And I think we have a commitment now to move forward on that. I like the way it's presented here and the proposal. I suggest we accept it and move forward.
You made that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I would. I would move to accept the proposed amendment to the city charter and authorize the city attorney to transmit that to Representative Fleming of the Assembly for their approval.
Is that a motion? Second? Second. All in favor, show of hands. Vote unanimously. So, is there anything else you can thank you so much. GEP agreement revised. It is a smart, and that was another way to that.
Mr. Ritzby, good evening. This is simply the same agreement you've already approved, but they had 2 spots where they had to fill in the equipment we were receiving. And I didn't feel comfortable changing a document that you had approved and just get it signed. So they changed it. It has the 40 amp service fixtures that are for the EV, and they attached an exhibit to show where it's going. But it doesn't change the relationship or the fact that we're paying nothing, but just a minor modification, but not in my comfort range as a typo or anything. So I wanted to make sure it came back to you to see it. I don't know if they need a consensus or if you feel like they need to revote on it, but I just wanted to make sure it came back.
Is it ViroSpark? Are they a different vendor than we approved last time?
No, sir, it's the same vendor.
Same vendor.
Same equipment. They just detailed the equipment and included a site exhibit for it.
And it's the 2 double pumps, if you will.
Yes, sir. It's a double fixture and 1 single fixture. Still 5 spaces. Still paying nothing, but we do set up, and Karen's already done that. And thank you for Karen getting that done. Set up the electrical account, and then they reimburse us out of their proceeds. Because they don't set up electrical accounts all over the state of Georgia. Any questions you have for me?
Which will happen in council tomorrow, once again.
I would defer to the attorney.
it's a lot cleaner if you just vote on it. I don't know if it necessarily needs one, but it's a lot cleaner if you do.
Second by council members.
I move that we approve the EV agreement revision.
Second. Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. For those in the vote unanimously.
Thank you.
Transfer of property to City of Madison to EPA. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's good to see you all tonight. Back again, I was just here last month, so I feel right at home again. Last month, we approved the acceptance of the middle school property from the Board of Education. I spoke to Jay ahead of the meeting. We're going to get all of that finalized, and at the time now, if it is the council and mayor's desire, to deed that property over to the Downtown Development We will take title to the entire piece. The Boys and Girls Club will be surveyed out and will be deeded back to the city in accordance with the agreed upon CDG grant. So we will keep that consistent with kind of what our plan has been all along. And then another slight change that the city attorney and I discussed before the meeting, since the property will be coming down to the DDA, and just for convenience, since I'm local, if it is acceptable, I'll ask as the escrow agent for those funds. And then as Ms. Callahan provides me with the billing for any repairs or improvements, I can issue that on my trust account, and I'll hold that and provide that information to the Board of Education. That's subject to your approval. Of course, I will go back and formally have the Board of Education approve that. You can correct me if I'm wrong on any of that. Anything you'd like to add? Mr. Whitby's here, who's the chair of the Downtown Development Authority as well. If you have any questions for him,
I just wanted to add that since 2019 through the transfer of property in 2024, the DDA had fronted out of its operating funds a certain number of expenses. Thanks to Karen's staff for helping pull the receipts for those while they were still doing DDA's books. Those have been provided to the Board of Education, who is reviewing those, and those are to be reimbursed prior to the transfer of the escrow amount. So just wanted to let you know we're getting those public dollars back into the account, and that'll replenish DDA's operating fund because it's starting to get low.
And I guess most of us know that the DDA has been working on this process for a long time. Last meeting, I think, the Board of Education finally gave it over to the DDA, so.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, they have, they've signed the deed, and the city attorney has that deed, and he's going to get that recorded into the deed records, and so we'll provide a copy of that to the city clerk for the city's records as well.
Thank you. So we can get
Mayor, if I could ask the city attorney, I know last time this came up, there were some questions, your name in the executor of one of the accounts or something beyond my grasp, but were the questions that you had between you and Lee, you got that worked out to your satisfaction?
That's what Mr. Abney just spoke about. His offer to be the escrow agent, excuse me, and control those funds to the DDA and his trust fund rather than having to come through. He is way more familiar with the project than I am since it's been going on.
So your moment in the sun is like over now?
It is, yes.
Well, that's a little unfair, because it's like the 11th hour, and it's just kind of sprung that on him and his law firm, and I've kind of got the institutional knowledge.
Top dog for all like 2 weeks.
Right. He's still top dog. So.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I delivered all that material, Monica, to the superintendent, Dr. Cole. They are meeting on that tonight, and I expect that everything is going to go as planned. Monica sent a ton of documentation to them. They have all the information. Your point is somewhere.
From Karen.
Karen, anyway, but it looks, I mean, everything looks good. Virgil was very appreciative. They wanted to get final kind of closure, and they wanted to, I think they felt we had to have something, Monica, in place by February or something like that, and they want to work with us to get that in place. So, Mr. Mayor, it'll be great to get the money back that the DDA has put in, and that they can move forward with other projects.
You want to make that a form of a motion?
I so moved. I make that the form of a motion.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimous. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Road resurfacing.
Council, thank you for time this evening. This is the same list that you had at the work session with 2 exceptions. We've added $10,000 for improvements to Pearl Street, to aid in some drainage issues we have at 634 and 649. And we added $10,000 for the Wellington Park access road to aid in some drainage issues. Approximately 120 feet of curb gutter and some minor grading and drainage. And those would be the only changes from the work session list that you had the other week. Do you have any questions? I guess at this time it'd be appropriate to approve the list or change the list. It's up to you.
This might not be that needs to add $10,000 to a couple of roads, just like that. We get a motion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I make a motion that we approve this list of streets and roads to be repaired. I had the opportunity to look at it and analyze it, per square foot and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a great plan, and this plan, I think, is Aaron is helping us identify what the cost is going to be in the future. And we talked about trying to figure out. I'll stop that. I already made the motion. I make that motion.
Second, okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Motion.
And I believe there is not another pot of funds that Mr. Wadley can access to as early as, I think, April, with the doubling of the budget. It's currently proposed in Atlanta, but hasn't been approved yet. Reality funding.
New business, GCC annual report.
Mayor and Council, Phil Smeltzer, have the pleasure of being the chair of the Green Space Commission. I'd like to give you an update on 2023 activities. Not necessarily a priority, but we had 5 acres added to the conservation tracts in the city. That one was, it doesn't matter if it's 5 acres, a half acre, or 20 acres. Sometimes they're all the same amount of effort. And this one was is a real nice addition because it's going to be across from what will eventually be the Murray Todd lot and one of the trailheads into Horse Branch Trail. So it's both sides of Washington at the entrance, near the entrance of Valley Farm. Love green space on both sides, so it'll be a nice gateway coming into downtown. I don't want to steal all the thunder of the Lambert legacy, and that'll be next, but that's a really big deal for us, particularly because of the Ricketts tree grant that we do every year in the city, and the wisdom of taking that money and creating an endowment from Mr. Ricketts 22 years ago? I mean, 2003? Is that right? Does that sound right? 2001. 2001, so over 20 years, we make the math easier. And to still be able to plant this last year 6 trees in the city, and now to have another endowment that's going to have saplings, smaller trees to plant, and have that go on in perpetuity. As far as Monica and others can tell, that's rare, if hardly ever even seen in the United States and other towns and cities. So that's really notable because we've got a program that just goes every year. And then the city contributing funding for the right-of-way trees as well. We had over 18 of those last year. And we were able to obtain a really short-term grant. It was really a fast turnaround from ARP and the Toyota Challenge. And that provided $48,000 for President's Walk, which will, of course, join or take from Jefferson Street down to Washington, and will allow individuals, visitors, residents to go from literally here at the visitor center next door, go down, go into the woods, and when the bridges are installed, that will be remarkable because the bridge closest to here at this entrance, at this side, it's like you're in the middle of the woods. And I know I said that last year about Pritchard Loop. But it's literally a babbling brook going over granite outcroppings. You're maybe 1,000 feet from the downtown square. It's really something pretty special when that all gets completed. And then we were able to get Georgia Power to donate utility poles for the stringers for the bridges. And we definitely learned that building a bridge is not as easy as it sounds. Getting somebody to agree to build it, being able to bid it at something that we could afford. And we learned a lot, which was the hope of the grant, and which was really in the spirit of why the grants were dispersed. And it absolutely worked for us to be able to leverage that and as a catalyst. That also provided the wayfinding and some improvements to the sidewalks. That will be what's going to be called a collegiate path, which will go from the visitor center out to the schools complex, back college, and then down Main Street. So 2.5 miles of designated wayfinding and a path. And then we will, later this year, expand that and enhance what's the old wellness walk over in the vicinity of Academy and the park, in the cemetery, and add another one. So we'll have a third one that will go with the new Gateway project that's currently in. So really some nice integration and intersection of effort that the commission was able to pull off this year. We have gone back and after COVID, we've got the Fall Fete that's up and running, and so we had that at the location where the Clark Beautification Point is going to be completed at the end of this year. And we had Carl Scott, who's our ombudsman for clearing out all the trails and untold hours that he invested in, has grown his volunteer corps to over 30 people, up to 32 people, which is really, every person that you get to be a volunteer, and they don't all come back, every spring and every fall, but we've got a nice cadre of individuals which will help the city keep costs lower as we move forward, and who's going to maintain the trails. Because they do need to be walked, even around Gold Springs, needs maintenance. Just clearing off the leaves and the dirt and the twigs and the acorns is sizable. So that's a notable achievement. We've also added 2 new members as replacements, David Burke and Diane Turner. David, some of you may know, is really an incredible naturalist, for lack of a better label to put on David. But he's like snakes. That is one thing he doesn't mind. I asked him, I said, do you like being called Snake Man? And it comes with the territory, literally and figuratively. But he's really knowledgeable of fauna and flora. He works with DNR regularly as a consultant. So to have him added to Green Space is just amazing. And then Diane Turner is somewhat in the same genre of a self-taught naturalist, and she's already started writing articles each month on various trees that are native and heritage trees, and putting that out to the public. So really happy with what the commission has done and the support that we receive, and the grant that was submitted as well last year for $1 million, including the matching funds for the park rehabilitations and expansion, and the city being able to commit matching funds to that will really help bring the parks up to speed. So it's a pleasure to work on that. It's thankful for the support that we get. And if you have any questions, we're happy to entertain them.
We thank you for the Green Space for committing what you do for our city. Very rewarding. Thank you.
If I could add a quick point, I'm fortunate enough to be the liaison to Green Space, and this is, you can see the names of the people that are members on Phil's report here. It's an impressive group and very capably led by Phil, and with Monica's guidance, it's really a sharp group that does a lot of good work. As I mentioned earlier about the Arbor Day on the Saturday, giving away the tree saplings. I believe we have a Friday Arbor Day event that perhaps one of you two could elaborate on. That's coming up this Friday.
Can I help with that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Jill had already gone, or she would be taking the spot and doing it right after Phil. So on Friday, we'll have our normal third Friday in February event, which is Georgia Arbor Day. It'll be at the depot. It's normally around 11. Check your emails. I think that seems like that's right to me, 11 o'clock. And we'll be having our Georgia forester there, and we will be having a tree planting with our gold shovels, and we will start our giveaway program. But we are fortunate enough to have support from the local FFA group, as well as at the high school, as well as the Junior Conservancy. So the sapling trees, we will have initial giveaway on Friday. There's a group that's coming from one of the daycares, nursery schools, and they are coming to get their trees that day. But we will have an ongoing 10 to 2 o'clock every Saturday in February. So that parents and not during the school day can come and pick up their tree with their children, and that'll be staffed by volunteers. It will not be city employees that are necessarily working that event, although we will help out, right? And so those 130 trees will be distributed throughout February. And I think I'd like to emphasize, if you'll give me 1 second, one thing about the Lambert Trees for Tots program is just a little different. With Ricketts, we were able to envision planting on private property. And that grant goes and it works inside the city limits. And it allows us to put up trees because we do have people who demand for trees to come down all the time. And so we're trying to stay ahead of the game. But what's exciting about this new program is since flyers will be sent to the whole first grade and all the daycares, this actually, the Lambert money will really be a true city-county program. There will be no county child turned away. So if in the past you called for a Ricketts tree, you got told, sorry, not inside the city limits, this is private money, not public money. So we absolutely can make sure that this is going to be a county-wide legacy program. So if you know of a young person, you'll see Ken start to put our social media out. If it's on Nextdoor, please encourage them to come. Friday is fine if they'd like to come Friday, but we'd like to see any family that has a young child or a bigger child that would like a tree between 10 and 2 any Saturday in February until they're all gone.
Sorry, did you say where?
It'll be at the depot.
At the depot?
Yes, ma'am, because we've got room to store them under the canopy.
Is it at 10 o'clock Friday or 11 o'clock?
It's 11 o'clock Friday, and it's 10 to 2 every Saturday.
And I did one funny thing if I could, Mayor. I didn't notice...
until they're gone.
Right. Until they're gone. I didn't notice signage for the trail you mentioned, Phil, right in front of the 4-H club here on Hancock, turning into East Avenue. So there's already trail signage right by the sidewalks already in place. Looking very good, I might add.
Yes, we're test driving that and seeing if it works, and then the other two will be installed. There's one other planting program that's new this year that we haven't given a lot of hype to, and there is going to be a collegiate planting in front of the school system. So we did broach that with the school board, but part of our right-of-way program will be creating a collegiate alley, but we're going to come talk to you more about that because we've got, it's going to be an honorary announcement because those will be naming opportunities along the frontage to honor our educators. So along the collegiate path, we're layering up AARP accessibility money with tree money, with an opportunity to recognize the great work of our educators. So you'll hear more about that in the near future.
I like the word LA. I just learned that word only 2 months ago.
I learned it from the city's great landscape architect, June Harold, as a young pup.
Thank you, Monica. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, public service appointments.
Unless you want to do one.
Nope.
The vacancy that is currently on the Planning and Zoning Commission has had an application from Paul Anderson. This is for an unexpired term, so if he's appointed this evening, he will serve through the end of the year and be eligible for reappointment.
District 2, vote for District 2, council member District 2.
That would be me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And in honor of that appointment, I would be glad to move that we accept Paul Anderson's application for the Planning and Zoning Commission seat open, for the open seat until the end of 2024.
Second that.
That was discussion.
I'd like to just comment that Paul had also applied for HPC. So I really appreciate the fact that because he was not able to serve on that commission, that he was willing to come over to planning for that. I think it would be a great addition.
Thank you. That was discussion. All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thank you. Public comment, Patrick Green, Townhouse,
Good evening again. Sorry, you'll have to hear from me twice tonight.
Yeah, I got, hopefully we got a few minutes. I got a two-part subject here, or problem. As everybody, I think, knows, I'm a local business owner here. Tried to do what I can, and just talking to some other business people. Hope that the council would listen to and reconsider certain things on how they select other businesses to come into the city. When I first moved here, there's a couple national auto part companies, and then all of a sudden we got 4 national auto companies, and the local mom and pops, left. The only one left was Bruce Connors. And now he's gone. He sold it out to a bigger Napa distributor. And then even myself in my car wash. This is during the pandemic, I protested and rode up trying to get the tunnel wash across the street from me from stop coming in. My business has dropped 60%. And we have 2 other car washes besides mine. And I have 2 tunnel washes, they only have 1. It's long, mine goes back and forth. And then again with the pantry that I owned, I took an old gas station that was vacant for such a long period of time, made it into a nice pantry. And then we allowed 3 more to come in, which took my business, luckily I sold it before the other ones opened. And actually I feel sorry for the chief because he's got one right across from the police department that's got a big marijuana leaf on it. And I didn't think we were trying to get that kind of image here. At my store, I made sure we didn't have no rolling papers, nothing that people could do marijuana issues. No pipes, no glass, nothing. But now I see right across the street, we got a marijuana leaf, 2 foot high. What do you think when tourists come through our town and see across from the police department, we got a big marijuana leaf? That actually bothers me, that I try to do what's good for the city, and then we let stuff like that come in. And then what bothers me the most, I can survive that. I've got the money where I can survive it. It's not my income. But Jimmy Britt, we allowed Mavis to come in, which is one of the country's largest tire suppliers and oil changers, to come in and move 150 feet away from me. Yeah, I shouldn't be concerned about Jimmy Britt, but I am. He's a local businessman. His wife works over wherever at the county. Provides you guys with tags. And so his family's going to suffer because we let National, and they're like the 3rd largest between Firestone and Goodyear, auto parts companies. So I guess, my complaining, and I think you guys know, all the business I have, I donate all the profits back to this community. Every penny. And it kind of hurts me to see these smaller guys, like a Jimmy Britt. He'll be closed up within 5-6 months. And it's a shame that he has to do that. Luckily, he doesn't own the building, so all he's got to do is just give up his business. But it's a shame. I just want to know if, in the future, if you guys can kind of make sure that we don't overabundant certain things like auto parts. I've never been to a town this size, and there'd be 4 major auto parts stores. I don't see how they all survive. I know, they take the good and the bad stores, and it don't really matter, but You know, when I moved here, I think there's 3 mom and pop auto stores, and they're all gone. And Bruce survived because he stuck it out. And, you know, he just couldn't stick it out anymore. So, that's all I wanted to get across on there. Now we got the bigger issue.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much.
Well, like I said, this town means a lot to me. And in talking to these people, and, well, even Jerry Smith, which some people don't like him, others do, I was a good personal friend of his. And he done a lot for this community that people don't even know about. Helped a lot of people that were in bad shape. You know, he didn't want to live here. He moved to Hiawassee. Unfortunately, he passed away and was in bad health. But he didn't want to be a part of the city of Madison. And he done a lot for people, you know, maybe not for the city or something, but I went to his funeral. And it was lined up almost 2 blocks round. You know, this was in Lawrenceville or Lilburn, one of them. And you wouldn't believe the stories that people had to say about him, how they helped him, how they got his life straight, or how he got their life straight. You know, he was a good man. One of the last few conversations that we had was the city of Atlanta, or city of Madison. And you know, and unfortunately, he got pushed out. So, you know, if there's anything that you guys can do to maybe think about people before they come in. Like I said, opening that car wash, I lost 60% of the business. I actually lose money to keep that thing open. I lose money. But, you know, somebody else couldn't do that. You know, they'll turn it into a salvage yard or something, who knows? You know, I wish the council would think more about people, especially these national franchises that come in. Because it's hurt some of your local mom and pop type businesses. And like I said, I feel real bad for the Britt family. Got 2 kids that's born and raised here in Morgan County, went to school here. And you know, hopefully, being a businessman, I know he ain't gonna make it. He's not gonna make it. So, that's that. Next subject is my parking. Chief, they need to take that marijuana leaf across from his police department, so they don't think that they're pushing it across from him. I'm having major issues. Yesterday, from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, I had to sit in my parking lot to keep people from this hospitality group from coming in and parking in my parking spot. It's a major problem 3 to 4 times a week. I myself have to sit out in the parking lot. My time is a lot more valuable than sitting in my white van in the parking lot. And the times that I've tried to approach them, the first time I've tried to approach them, some little white kid with blonde hair came out, and somebody pulled up, asked where to park, he pointed to my parking lot. And I jumped on his butt. I said, you don't tell people to park in my parking lot. Oh, that's what I was told. Then the second time, some little black hair guy in a shift jacket, you know, went in and knocked out, said, I need to talk to a manager. He come out and, you know, basically told me it's my problem. And, you know, then I had 2 other incidences where some little blonde girls were in there, I guess the managers or whatever. One was polite, said, hey, I don't know what to do, let me call the boss. And I said, will you call him? I don't even know what the hell his name is. That owns the place. And he wouldn't come out, wouldn't talk. So she just said, you know, sorry, I can't help you. The next time, another blonde girl came out, she basically said, it's your problem. Then the last time, this Dwayne come out, this tall guy that's in the newspaper with this guy all the time, you know, I went inside their building, the little old mint julep building, and, you know, he came out, and I told him the problem I got, and I said, well, why don't you have somebody sit here and send them over to the post office, send them over wherever. And Basically, he said it's my problem. Well, it is my problem, and I just want to let you guys know that if I got to take this into my own hands, I don't know what's going to happen. And one of the days, right before Thanksgiving, they had a party there for a young lady, 50-year-old birthday. They had signs outside and balloons, and there was a lot of people from DeKalb and Decatur and Fulton County tags. I had to push 35 people away on a Saturday night from my parking lot. Two guys were going to kick my ass and went to his car and said he's going to get his gun. The other ones, you know, they were pissed, and, you know, but I dealt with it in the way I could. And then just regular during the week with our own citizens. This puts me in a jam to where, John, if you come to my restaurant Tuesday and eat with me, then Saturday you decide to go eat with them, but pull into my parking lot, I got to go tell you, hey, sir, I'm sorry. I got to have my parking spot for my customers today. And then they get pissed off. Well, I'm never coming back to your restaurant again. And one guy who was a gym member, well, screw you, I'm not going to come to your gym. You know, cancel my membership. So I wrote his name down and canceled his membership. That's what he wanted. Actually, it cost me $39 a month. But this is the situation I'm in, is I'm fighting against my own neighbors. And I don't want that. I don't like it. And it ain't going to happen. I've got to put a stop to it. And these people don't give a damn. And the Snyder, or what the hell his name is, won't even come out and talk to me. And if I see him, you might be calling the chief. Because, you know, I have respect for people, but when people disrespect this is my business. And it's my property. It's my property. He don't have one piece of property around his businesses. He abuses the city because he takes every spot up in that 2-block area. Every spot. Then his construction people park in every spot in front of his stores. Every day while they're working. But yet my people, if they park in a city spot, they get a ticket. You know, I had one girl last week park out in front, and she got a ticket. But his people can park anywhere they want, not have any issues. You know, and when I first came and was going to actually buy that building, when I got, I don't know, with who, Monica or Ken or somebody, if I was going to develop those apartments upstairs, I had to have parking for them, assigned parking. Not just park in any city spot that you can park in. So that's why, you know, that was one of the deterrents why I didn't buy it. But every week, 4 to 6 people that live up in those apartments park in front of the county building, which is city parking, right? I mean, that's what I understand. If it's not, so that's the dilemma I'm getting, is that he takes over everything, and it affects my business. And the 3 handicap parking spots that I set up for my assisted living people, I had to build. The city made me do it when I drew the permit. That's, you know, the city, well, I think Chuck was the inspector at that time, but, you know, I had to build 4 handicapped parking spots in front of my assisted living center. They utilize that up with people that don't even have handicap stickers. And yesterday, I got pissed off at 2 guys that parked in the spot. I said, "Would you have a handicap?" I was going to let them park there, but they're my spots. I had to have them as designated spots for my building. And the plans are my spots. And, but you know, I was going to let them park there. But he got so smart, and, you know, and even one time when I talked to that Dwayne boy, if that's his real name, when I seen him in the paper, it was a different name. But, you know, I told him, have somebody at the door, tell them where to park it. You know, I understand they got a gravel parking lot, you know, 50 acres back past the county building and all that, but they don't meet the distance from where their businesses are. So I don't even want to hear that he's got a parking spot, because he doesn't. You know, he needs to follow by the city rules. I had to, like I said, he's just kind of taking over the neighborhood. And if the city allows it, there ain't much I can do it, and I want to protect my area. And even one time, I let the city park there, tell people, you know, in the parking deck, but then people took advantage of it. And with the city allowed people, well, I wasn't agreeable with. And I sure in the heck ain't gonna let him park there, or his customers. He'll never, ever. You know, I let the county park in my parking spots. I let everybody that gets a tag, you know, because it's during the day, let them park in my chop house. I don't make any issues about it. And I wouldn't be here today if my neighbor was such, I can't use language in here, if it could be controlled. I've done everything, and I'm not going to stay out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday monitoring my parking lot anymore. You know, after that 50th birthday, when those two guys were going back to get their gun, you know, I started carrying a gun with me. I ain't going to get shot, you know. If somebody's going to get shot, it's somebody that's trespassing on my property, threatening my life. Then the chief would be coming and arresting me. We don't want that. But that's kind of the point it's getting to. And, you know, if you guys, if there's a situation where I can help, or I can monitor the city parking, I'll hire somebody to monitor the parking. If you guys want to put meters up, I'll buy the darn meters. And give the, you know, after the meters are paid for, then the city can take it, and they can do it. Something's got to be done, because they're not doing anything. And I'm very short-tempered when it comes to protecting, and especially when I give everything. You know, I just gave the special needs kids at Morgan County, because they only have $500 budget for activities. I just gave them 15 grand for activities, so they can do stuff. Because that's, those kids need it. And these people are stopping me from doing what I want, the good things I can provide. You know, and he's in the way of it. And, you know, and I'm not a quitter. So either he, well, you better move on. And is he even licensed to do all those businesses in that corner? Does anybody know that, or has he just got one license that he just does what he wants? And is there regulations on restaurant and liquor? You know, every other little town, from Dublin to Macon to Griffin, all that I have property, they make you in a restaurant liquor, they make you have one parking spot that you own for every 100 square feet that you are occupying. Is that something that you guys have here for businesses? Is there any regulations on a restaurant hospitality business that they're supposed to have their own adequate parking? Because I was told when I took over the chop house, and luckily I own the parking lot. And I haven't gone that far, but if I need to, and take him to court, you know, that's what I gotta do. That's why I come to you guys today, to air and vent and tell you where I'm at. So when something does happen, you guys, at least you guys got first hand on it. Because for the last 3 months, I've had to set out my parking lot when I should be doing other things. And I'm not going to put some young kid out in my parking lot that's, you know, going to protect my property. I think the chief might be lenient on me if I own the property and shoot him, won't you? Well, just joking. But that's kind of where I'm at, and so I haven't done my homework. I haven't, you know, I did do my homework, and I own that big circle that starts at the aerobic center and comes all the way to the tag office. So I park right there. It's my private property, and when I see people pulling into my parking lot, I say, "Welcome to the chop house. You know, let me walk here. If it's raining, I have an umbrella and walk it. They, nope, we're going over here. I said, well, sir, you're going to have to move. This is for my Chop House Patriots today. Well, we eat at your place all the time. Well, sir, I appreciate your business, but I got to keep it for the people who are coming today. And then when I talked to them, you heard the comments. I've tried 5 times to deal with these hospitality people, and, you know, I'm not doing it anymore. And, so unfortunately, the customers, my customers suffer, because they don't suffer, because they tell me, well, it's your problem. You know, so I've got to deal with it. You know, they benefit from it, because, you know, they're only 25 feet from their business. Where if you made them park in their designated spot, you know, 1,800 feet away behind the courthouse, I don't see how like people like Judge Pryor and other people don't complain because they park in the courthouse designated parking. And they park in the post office parking, in the front and the back and on the side, you know. And a lot of my customers, you know, have issues of where even to park and come out of town. So, and I know you guys got a parking issue, but, you know, unfortunately, you guys are part of the reason that you have a parking issue, because you let these people come in without, you know, having parking spots. Like I said, I don't see how you guys let that whole lot come in without one parking spot. I know when I tried to buy it, well, you're gonna have 6 apartments, you gotta have 2 parking spots for each apartment, and all that. And actually, the first girl that bought the coach and buggy was a friend, and you guys told her the same thing, or something. I ain't blaming you guys, didn't tell her, but it was a regulation that they had to have designated parking. So I said, well, you know, I'll give you some parking spots. But that ain't gonna happen with this people. Lee, what did I miss, my friend? I brought in this high-priced New York lawyer with me, and ain't let him speak the lip. I think you covered it. We covered everything we talked about. Most cities our size have what they call eating and drinking ordinance. So how many spots, they're supposed to have designated spots that they own, or they rent from somebody, for each 100 square feet. And I don't, like I said, I haven't researched that. And if you guys do that, then, and they keep parking there, I'm gonna have to come back and try to make somebody enforce it. Because I can't spend every Friday, Saturday, Sunday garden apartment. And like I said, I offered to meter the vehicles. I mean, I'll hire somebody, and you know, we'll loot the cars if they stay over 2 hours. You know, as long as it covers the guy's labor, the rest can go to the city. And if you guys want to do some meters, you know, I'd be more than happy to buy meters and collect the money to pay for the meters and the person doing it, and then the balance goes to the city. And if they're paid for, then you guys have them after that.
Mr. Reeves, Mr. Mayor, I hear you, I've not said anything, but I'm hearing you. And I'm more than willing to sit down with you outside of this council and just kind of learn more about what we're talking about. And I think that would be more effective as we go forward.
Well, the biggest problem is his patriots are parking in my parking lot.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is, let's sit down and talk so I can get more information. I'll be happy to talk to Lee, because I like Lee. But we hear you, and I want you to know I'm available, and I will sit down with you at any time.
The member appreciates it so much. Thanks for coming tonight and sharing with us.
All right, well, you guys know where I'm at, so, you know, I'm out there every weekend, and, you know, if Chief catches me with a gun out there pointing it at somebody, you know, tell him not to be hard on me. All right?
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you do that, Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there no more public comments tonight?
I just had to jab you a little. I'll take it.
Any more comments from the public?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. Just a couple of quick notes. And the first I bring up only because I want to try to expedite this and resolve this issue. You postponed the zoning issue until the next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
But when the developer submits a site plan 2 that has not been reviewed by planning and zoning, there's no provision in the ordinance for y'all to take that up if planning and zoning hasn't reviewed it. I think it has to be sent back to planning and zoning for them to consider it. If someone can go to planning and zoning and, then change their plan between the time they go to planning and zoning and come to city council, without it being reviewed by planning and zoning, then why even have a planning and zoning commission?
So let me ask our attorney, does it have to go back to planning and zoning, or can we just go?
It does not have to go back to planning and zoning. The law requires a public hearing, one public hearing, which is before you all. You also have a public planning and zoning one where you also have a public hearing. They are a recommending body, they review plans, give a recommendation to you. My understanding from this specific situation is that the developer heard the planning and zoning and I think made changes what he heard were kind of in line with their recommendations to try to cure their objections that come before you all. And then you all have the right to, you have a right to send it back to planning and zoning if you want them to decide. You also have the right to table it to a later meeting if you want some more information yourself, which is what I heard you do tonight, so.
Mr. Mayor, may I? Monica, just for my information, I thought I read something that came from planning and zoning. Did I not?
I'm going to defer to Molly.
Molly?
Something, meaning the staff report that came from the planning department?
Yes, from the planning department.
Yes, there was a staff report.
It was attached to my agenda, well, it was part of the attachments that I reviewed, and I looked at it, and I know what the planning and zoning did. So that's been done.
Well, I think the difference, if I may, is the hearing was based on a site plan that was then based on some of the input they got from planning and zoning. It changed the site plan, increased the acreage per lot, and that was coming to us. So they had a hearing on that plan, but it wasn't the one that has been revised and brought to us. I think that's kind of the Netherlands.
Two site plans in front of you, just to clarify, you have 2 site plans.
Yeah.
Monica, could you come up so we can hear you?
Just want to clarify that you do have 2 site plans in front of you. The site plan 1, which was what came before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Site plan 2, which is the applicant taking those concerns that the Planning Commission expressed and making modifications to that. And so both of those are before you, not just the second site plan, is all I want to make sure that you understand.
But the issue is the commissioners that you appointed, that this body appointed to review these things and give you input, has not seen site plan 2.
Did they see the site plan too, Molly?
No, site plan 2 was developed by the applicant in response to concerns the Planning and Zoning Commission expressed during their meeting.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Jay, when you and I talked about this earlier before the meeting, you also clarified on the site plan, because I had that same question, that we weren't legally bound for it to go back to planning commission because the change. Could you clarify that for
So
me?
when you advertise for any zoning, not just this one, under state law and your ordinances, which mirror that, you can do anything less intense than what is advertised. So, for example, you can't advertise like you're going to do a small single-family development and come in here, and then you all say, well, that'd be a better place for an industrial warehouse, because that doesn't give the public notice to come and speak. You can do, if it is advertised as something, you can do anything less onerous, which is what this developer did here at the concerns in the Public and Planning Commission, and he made the lots bigger, which makes it less onerous over the time period. So that would be in your control to require that, even if you didn't propose a site plan, you all just wanted to force that upon him, so.
But you said because it was actually an improvement on what we had presented, or what had been presented to the public for a public hearing in the commission.
I guess improvement is subjective. But
I mean,
it's a less intense land use.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I? Again, I looked at that, I reviewed it. Everything, it's not an increase in the number of units. It's an increase in, decrease in the size of the lots. It increases green space that can be utilized. It eliminates, excuse me.
We're not really arguing.
All I'm saying, for your benefit, I've looked at it, I've really studied it. And some of the changes that are going to be made are economically better for the city. And those are things that I look at. So,
my comment tonight is not really based on the merits of site plan 1 or site plan 2. In fact, I would advocate for the original site plan that was proposed by the developer when they got permission for the development. But I'm not here to discuss the merits of those site plans, just to point out that it seems to, why bother having a planning and zoning commission if you don't want them to review things like this? That's just my comment, or that's my first comment. My second comment is to say that I have some frustration, and I know that I am not the only person that has this, with the lack of the ability of the public to see packets, agendas and packets, in a timely manner to be able to come and make public comment. There was nothing on the city website until mid-afternoon, Friday afternoon, 3:30 or so, 3:30. That just doesn't give, you had a lot of things on the agenda. Now, I know most of them are pretty inconsequential in terms of public interest in them. But it doesn't give the public much time, and I'm also concerned about whether public comment gets added, because I know I submitted public comment to each and every one of you before the agenda ever came out, because there's been this expression by the council, which I totally understand, that they'd like to have public comment in earlier. If we can't see, if the public can't see the agenda and can't see what's on it, you cannot reasonably expect public comment on those items, 5 days ahead of the meeting. And so I have some frustration. I would really encourage you to look at those processes and to recognize that public comment can come in the way that I generally do it, which is written, and addressed to all of you. But public comment can also come from, verbal communications, citizens that may call their council member or may call the mayor. It can come from a host of places. It can come from comments on the website or various in sundry other places. And there needs to be, in my opinion, if you really want the public involved and engaged, you've got to kind of gather together. There's got to be a process for gathering all of that information from the constituents to really give the opportunity for the public to fully participate.
I think that's one reason why the public hearing was postponed tonight, so we would have time at our next meeting to come and voice your opinion. And just let me say, there's an applicant of a clerk, and the reason probably were late is because she was out of town in a class, just an oversight, And I don't want you or anybody else to pinpoint her or anybody, any member of our staff, you know.
Mr. Mayor, I certainly don't want to do that. That is not my intention, and I know that you have a new city clerk in this position, and I understand there's always a learning curve to that. That is not my intention. This is something that's been an ongoing issue for a number of members of the public for some time, and I just would like to see some sort of rules of procedure or rules of conduct for not just this body, but also planning and zoning, so that things are put out to encourage the public to participate. When things are put out at the last minute, and I'm not talking about just this, I'm talking about other commissions within city government, when things are posted, you know, a day or two before a meeting, or even 3 or 4 days before the meeting, that tends to have a chilling effect on public comment and public participation, rather than, and shouldn't the goal be to have robust public participation?
So let me ask our staff, how soon are you supposed to post these notices when we have these meetings? Planning and zoning or whatever?
So the notice requirements under state law vary for different boards that we have. And the way we take public comment typically does not vary. Until the planning commission, we take public comment in various forms, verbal, people dropping in the office, people sending documents. And if they are received before the planning commission packets go out, they go in the packet. And then if we receive comments between the planning commission and mayor and council meeting, at the point where the clerk calls for packets and Molly responds with a packet, if we receive comments in that time period, they'll be included in the packet. And we have often had, and not necessarily from Cynthia, she's actually very, she's actually very considerate. Sometimes we do get document dumps the day of or the day before. Packets are already to the clerk, and they are posted on the council's packets are posted. If we receive comments during that time period, Molly will again, like she did in the last couple of days or two, she will send those comments to the clerk within, as soon as we receive them, and then they will either get handed out to you that night or she will forward them on to you because we've already pushed the packet to her. But the point where the packet is pushed, we've collected all the comments, whether they've come into the office and we've written them down in the staff report, or whether they've been turned in writing. We've had this conversation with Frank Jenkins several times when he's come and done training about last-minute comments. And what we try to do to make sure that we're preserving that opportunity for the public to comment is to say, okay, if you missed the opportunity to get your written comment in, please come the night of the meeting, and you still have the right to verbal comments. We're not cutting off comments at any point, but the point where you're required to provide to either post to the website, which we're not required to do, but we do anyway, or the point where we push it to the city clerk, we've collected all the comments that we've got, and then everything else goes and it gets handed out. But what happens, and we've talked about this in the past, what happens is when we have comments that come in later, in between that packet distribution, and you put them in front of the decision maker, they don't have time to read them and think about them. So Frank Jenkins even suggested that we require all comments, whether it's from staff or from the public, a cutoff period, maybe 2 days before any public meeting. And then they have to come and make it verbal. So we haven't landed anywhere on that because we felt like that would be squelching participation. But Frank, we've talked about this. The decision makers are supposed to be informed decision makers. And it's hard for you to read or consume a whole notebook of materials or even a 3-page document if you receive it at the meeting. So we are trying to get further and further back. What I'm hearing from Sylvia, she would like to make sure that the original information and application is posted further and further back. We're hearing that. Molly's working on new processes with the Planning Commission. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year. She's also working on making sure that they have more education, and they're going to start having work sessions. If you see the County Planning Commission has work sessions in advance, you're going to see our staff start pushing for work sessions in advance. So I think you're going to see a lot of procedural changes over the next 6 months. And I hope that those will be things that Celia will find that meet some of the concerns that she's expressed in the past.
That's it. Thank you, Monica. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If the information is put on the website, I don't necessarily need to see everybody else's comments. I just need to see what's on the agenda and see what the issue is if I'm going to make public comment. And I'm happy, I agree, you should, I don't want to send you a 2 or 3 page letter, as I sometimes do, and have you get it as you're walking in the meeting. Because you're not going to read it, you don't have time to read it. In fact, at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where this issue was considered, I had, because the packet went up very late, I had written a letter and emailed it to Molly and to the members of the commission. And Robert Trulock said, would you please just read it into the record? Because they just gotten it. And he said, just read it into the record. And I said, okay, I'm happy to do that. So that's pretty much what I did. I just would like to see the information made available to the public just a few, 5 days in advance of the meeting, so that, and then if you want public comment within 2 days of the meeting, that's great, that's reasonable. But, in this instance, when it goes up at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, it's kind of hard.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
Sure.
I think I agree generally with the general thrust of Celia's second point. Openness to getting information out. On the first point, I was a little concerned when we got the initial packet. Well, the packet that was heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission has a site plan, plan number 1. They voted on it. To voters' credit, they responded to comments they had and they changed it. We are kind of deprived, however, of the opinions of Planning and Zoning of what they might think about that second plan. So I'm a little concerned that maybe this should go back to Planning and Zoning before it comes back to us. But I will rely on what our city attorney is telling us, and that is if we have met our obligations under our zoning ordinance to, if we've done that the right way, which is, it seems to be your opinion, Jay, I am fine in following what Jay is advising, and we won't need a second Planning and Zoning, although I don't totally personally agree with that. But I am not the city attorney, so I will defer to your judgment in that as far as I'm concerned.
I'll clarify, there's nothing preventing you all from sending it back to Planning and Zoning Commission, but what you all did is legal. You're not depriving any notice or process or public opinion.
I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think Lord be here with y'all today. I came back to, my name is Curtis Chapman, and I live at 624 Pearl Street. I came to the county meeting about 4 months ago to see about what drainage problem I had, and the city, some of the city people came into my home and they said that they don't do work on private property. Since then, I've been out where the city doing work on Hand Lane and that private property, so I want to know what the difference with that property and my property is. Could someone tell me?
I believe we had an emergency situation, Mr. Chapman, and John, if you want Ever to talk about that briefly, or?
Yes, obviously the difference is that the work on Candler Lane is being done in the city easement.
In the city, no, you got the city. You complete got the city. I've been in there 4 or 5 times. I got pictures showing that you got the city. So what, did you get a 12-foot easement on Seymour Road?
No, I'll let Aaron come up, he's an engineer. But the city easements run right in the people's front yards. It would look to a non-engineer like me that is doing work on someone's front yard, but actually that's the legal city easement, utility easement.
Yeah, the city easement goes, obviously we have the standard right of way, and then there's another 20 feet for the city easement beyond that. That's city owned and maintained on private property, but the city has access to it by law. It's deeded. And it's about 5 foot in front of the houses. I mean, it's a large area.
So, Lord, you telling me that when y'all doing that work, and they call it on the city property?
Yeah, that's a city-owned pipe.
City-owned pipe.
Yes.
Who would tend to that when that pipe was put in at the first beginning? You? Or who?
I don't think any of us were here then. It was in the 90s when that pipe was put in.
It was 1998, and it was at a time when the building department was shared by the city of Madison and the county of Morgan. They had
Well, maybe you look at the problem that I got there now, you know, Silver Lake got that drainage pond, and we both know that there's no water going into that pond. It's all in the hand.
Yeah, there's some issues with Silver Lakes. I don't think that's contributing to your issue, but there's issues there that need to be addressed at the pond.
Well, maybe you were back down there with the rain, and you said that was a problem, that was all the water coming on me. So now you say that ain't no issue about my problem that I got down there?
Yeah, maybe too difficult to discuss right here, but I mean, they're just different issues, different problems. We have been, council, you approved today, 2 solutions to this problem that Mr. Chapman has, and we're hoping those help. May not fix everything, but we're hoping they'll be helpful.
I heard what you said, but you don't understand what you said. So I repeat that again.
So the council approved today the repair of the 2 driveways that you own, the 2 houses above you on Pearl Street, to keep the water in the street so it doesn't run down the driveway behind your house. And then the council also approved the repair of an entrance road to Wellington Park to control the water that's coming across the park, down the park road. And that's something that needs to be addressed.
Well, that's something that me and you looked at when it was raining. And we seen that the water won't go in that drainage, that pond that they got back there. So what happened, whoever was carrying that supervisor, the superintendent, who carried that, they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, they put those Silver Lake there because they didn't.
It just needs maintenance.
That needs maintenance?
Yeah.
No, we both know that pond don't need no maintenance. Water do not go in that pond, it comes in my yard. And me and you look at that, didn't
we? We did look at it.
Yeah, we both decided that that was a problem, didn't we?
No, we acknowledge there's an issue with the pond.
Huh?
But this is probably too deep to go into right here.
Yeah, not this concern, that's well, area design engineer is not this problem. He's trying to help. Thank you, everyone. Any more comments? If not, then we can get on.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I know it's getting late, just real quick on Mr. Reed parking issue. He's a friend of mine, has been for a long time, still is. But part of the controversy that we've had is maybe he has some expectations that we can control the parking in his parking lot, and that's private property, unless Mr. J can give us any kind of legal grounds to where, if they're not violating laws or city ordinance, we can't go in and have vehicles towed or arrest people because they're on private property. So the issue is how does his problem get addressed legally, because it's not something that we can enforce, because that's not city parking. We issue citations for people violating city ordinances parking in city places. I kind of hadn't thought about the issue that you mentioned tonight, that there's other restaurants that don't have any parking at all for their restaurants, and that's overflow he's getting into his parking lot. So unless something can be done, or somebody can explain to me what legally we can do, our hands kind of are tied as far as enforcing any kind of law, because it's just private property. Just want to make sure we all understand. I haven't been trying to ignore Mr. Reeves, he's a friend of mine, but legally, there's not anything for us to do as far as issuing citations for people parking into his parking lot.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Actually, we've got to get a motion to go to executive session.
So moved.
We'll talk about personnel, real estate, and potential litigation.
Second.
All in favor, so